Hello friends. So, I grew up on Hooter wings. I was the human trash can at lunch that everyone would give their leftovers to. I had to really work on changing the foods that I naturally desired, and over the past year, it's never been easier, and my desires have naturally shifted. I'll show you how in this episode, so let's get into it. Have you guys ever had a friend who is just like naturally thin? My friend Julie is like this, and she's not into like lifting weights. She's not into working out. So more so just like thin, right? Naturally thin, but still it's always something that I've picked up on and noticed, and you might have friends like this too, but I've noticed that when she's stressed, she doesn't eat. When she's busy, or she wants to get this done or that done, she doesn't eat. Like the amount of times I've met up with her and she's like, oh, I've had nothing to eat today. And then she'll eat whatever she wants. I put in quotations because I'm going to talk about that in a second. She'll eat whatever she wants when we got to eat or when we meet up. But there's always constantly, oh my gosh, I didn't eat today. Oh my gosh, I didn't have this. And I picked up on that she also doesn't desire, like, she does not like junk food. She genuinely doesn't like it. She's not trying to lose weight. She's not trying to be healthier. It's just what she naturally desires. She does not like anything that's super dry and has been processed, which is most packaged food. And she's just like, oh, I just don't desire that. But also she's like, it doesn't make me feel like I'm eating real food, like I'm actually getting fed. She loves mashed potatoes. She loves steak and mashed potatoes, right? She wants a wholesome meal. She loves soup. And so it's something that I picked up on over the years. Now, I'm not saying we want to be skipping meals and modeling it after her, but I just find it interesting because she's never had a problem with being overweight or eating in a surplus, excessively eating. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up, because I know you guys have different goals. You guys are like, well, I want to build muscle. I want to look fit. I want to be well-fueled and well-fed. However, there's some things there that overlap, because typically what I see and what ladies are most hesitant about when starting a nutrition program or protocol is okay, well, they're thinking, well, I eat healthy. I want to be well-fueled. I like, knowing my macros and want to get enough protein in. They generally do desire that, let's say 70% of the time. But then they're always which I get this, right? Me too. I'm but I also want to be able to go out to dinner and have my favorite meal. I also want to be able to maybe have my favorite treat at home, or I want to go to the, when I go to the park, they have these amazing, tacos, right, that I want to have, so they're I want to include those foods too. I still have these vices or things that I like, but they feel those desires are what get in the way of them being consistent with their nutrition plan. So that was definitely me. I mean, all these are the things I see, and this is what I definitely I experienced too in the past, where chips, right? It's I want something crunchy. Who has felt that way before? I want something crunchy. Or oh, I'm just snacking off my kids' food because they're oh, the cheese sticks. Or the charcuterie board when you're at an event. It's oh, it's so good. I want some of that. Or, oh, I really want just easily available food. When I get home, I want the crackers and I can't stop eating the crackers. Or I want the granola bar. I want those that little packaged things that you can just grab. Or I want the Reese's cup. It's oh, it's so good. Or cheesecake. I want the cheesecake. Or when I go out to eat, when I go to brunch, I want the pancakes, right? And so these are a lot of things that I hear, which makes sense, even if you are that fit person and really generally eat healthy the majority of the time. So I have started to ask my clients, okay, what are your vices? Because they feel ashamed to tell me, but I'm no, this is normal that you desire these. Let's talk about it. And then let's talk about, one, can you fit them in? But two, how do we shift our desires from always wanting these things where it gets in the way of our goals versus strategically having them sometimes, but then changing our desires where that urge to have all those things is really dampened and shifted. Because I'll tell you, I used to love all these things, and I rarely have them anymore or at all, because I just don't desire them. And then especially like chips, I was a chip girl. I love the crunch. I love potato chips. I love every kind of chips. And now I went to a trip the other week, and they, as soon as you got there at the villa, because this was outside of Bali, they had bags of chips that are like, okay, this is just for the room. It's for, for free. Eat if you want. And I looked at them and immediately was like, absolutely not. That's not going in my body. No desire for that at all. And I didn't think about it the rest of the time. So like, how did I get from that place before to now? I'm going to tell you. So here's what you want to do. You want to change your desires for that food. I know it sounds way harder than I'm like making it seem, but it isn't difficult. But here are the things to think through. Really, how does it work? What is making you crave those foods? And the number one thing is going to be hunger hormone. That your body says, I'm hungry, you need to eat something. That's going to naturally have you crave food, especially quote unquote like bad food, because it's quicker, generally quicker to digest or like more potent. So your body's like, yes, give me that, give me that, give me that. That's natural, right? However, how high our hunger hormone are generally, and for my ladies, are way higher than they actually should be. The number one reason and the number one thing that's going to make those levels go down to decrease your desires for these foods is eating enough. I know you've heard me say this, and this is not the only thing we're going to talk about in this episode, but I have to stress it because this is going to be the number one thing that changes it for you. Consistently and constantly being well fueled and eating enough. Yes, that means custom to you. Yes, that means intentional. It's not just like vaguely eat more. It means like eat enough for you, fill up your gas tank and become well fueled. That's going to drastically go down. I consistently ate 2,400 calories for almost worked my way up there, but like my whole increasing my intake was like 6 months long, right? So that's a lot of food. My hunger levels were low, right? I was not craving anything because I was so well fed. I have a client right now who is on vacation, and she is like sharing our pictures in the group, and she's like, you guys, this is like the first trip where I like am not overeating. We've got access to a buffet. I don't feel like going crazy. I'm not even like having a dessert at every meal, where before that was like my standard. And she's like, I just don't even want it. It's because your desires change because you're actually nourished. All right, so that's the first one. The second one is, how do you decrease the hunger hormones? And the next is balancing your blood sugars. So if you're having like these swings in blood sugars, right, when it gets low, your body's gonna be like, okay, we need this fuel to be able to increase our energy levels. So you can do that by creating your plate at each meal. That means you're getting in your portion of protein with your carbs, with your fiber, aka your vegetable or your fruit. This, which then is naturally going to have fat on it as well, then it keeps it stable so you're not swinging and crashing and then craving these foods. Next thing with decreasing hunger hormones, this is going to be a tool that you can use in addition to all of this, but intentional use of caffeine. So caffeine is an appetite suppressor. So you can intentionally use that to decrease your hunger levels. Now, this doesn't mean have coffee all day, every day, and take caffeine pills, because obviously sleep is going to be a huge factor. But maybe if you notice, especially in like a deficit phase where you are getting hungrier at certain times, that's when you have your like a green tea, or that's when you add in maybe like the matcha, or maybe your Coke Zero or your Zevia, which is like a higher quality Coke Zero option. Okay, so that's the first thing, is decreasing your hunger hormones. The next thing to shift your desires from lower quality foods to higher quality foods is going to be to stop trying to overstack pleasures. This means typically what I see is people get home and they sit there and they're like, all right, I'm gonna have a big old snack, my favorite meal or snack. I'm also going to be on my phone and scrolling on Instagram. And then I'm also going to get like a good tasting drink, or at night, right? That's also when they have their alcohol. And then I'm also going to have my show on the TV. So it's just like, oh, like how can I overload my body with pleasures? Instead, what I want you to do is I want you to treat eating as its own activity, right? It is the only activity that you can do. And when you're doing that activity, you are doing that activity. And when you are not doing that activity, you're doing another activity. So for example, if you're at your desk working, you're not eating, right? Because you cannot do both, right? You cannot actually do both at the same time. It is going to be distracting to your work, and it's definitely distracting from eating. So don't eat at your desk. You sit at the table and you eat like an adult. But you eat like an adult and you say, okay, I have my plate. And something that I have done that has made a huge difference is I've stopped getting on my phone while I'm eating. Because then I'm like trying to get two pleasures at once, but I'm not fully getting one or the other. And then it's just overloading my system and like not setting me up for success in the long term. And I feel so much better not doing that. So when you go, you sit down, you eat, you're eating. That is the only thing you're doing. You're observing your food. You're enjoying your food. You're actually being with your food and that pleasure. So same thing when you go out to eat, right? You are not shoving food down your mouth. Like you're not getting all the appetizers and then you're eating on your plate while you're also like chatting with somebody. You're not doing both at the same time. One, it's just not a good look, right? You're just going to be chewing with your mouth open. But two, again, you're separating out. Okay, right now I'm having the apps. Maybe I'm listening to somebody, but I'm doing that. And then I'm going to stop. And then I'm having conversation, right? So conversation is the activity. So you're going to stop and you're going to talk, right? And then when it's time for your meal to get there, then you're like, okay, now my activity is eating. So then you're not talking, you are maybe listening, but you are eating. And then if you're like, okay, maybe I'm going to have a third of this, I'm going to put my fork down, and then I'm going back to a conversation. Okay, I got my point across, I told my story, now I'm going back to eating, and maybe that's when I'm listening. So those, like treating eating as an activity is not how it like unconsciously bleeds over into like every other area in your life and you feel like out of control with it. All right. The next thing is creating alternatives. So these like quote unquote bad foods, which really, as you guys, like if you've listened to this podcast long enough, you know that bad foods, it's not like black or white. There's a spectrum, but there are foods that are going to make it a lot more difficult for you to have success in building a badass shape. So that's definitely true. So for example, I don't ever have dessert, ever. And I used to love dessert. So like what changed there? I just created alternatives. And now I like the alternatives so much better. So for example, my go-to snack lately, which really, I guess you could call it a dessert because that's what it tastes like, is coconut yogurt. And then I mix it with my vanilla protein powder, which the C-Bum vanilla protein powder is so insanely good. So if you can handle sucralose, because that's a sweetener they use, it's incredible. It tastes like cheesecake. It is so good. And then I add frozen blueberries on top of it. And I like warm them up just a little. So then it like the juices spread into the rest of my cheesecake, which is coconut yogurt. And then I add a little bit of dates on top. And then I add a little bit of dark chocolate. It is so good. And when I say a little bit, I mean I add like 10 grams of dates and like 5 grams of dark chocolate. But it doesn't matter. That's all it needs. It is so insanely good that we did go out and we had, I think, was it for my birthday? I was like, oh, the cheesecake, that's like my thing. I'm going to get that. It's my birthday, all of that. And I had a couple bites and I'm like, it's not great, especially compared to my like at-home version, which is way healthier, way higher quality, fits my macros, not a problem. So this is how you change your desires too. Whatever you like typically crave, your vices. Like I had someone the other day, it's like, oh, I love Reese's cups. I love Reese's cup too, but back in the day, I love them. And then I changed them for alternative to, they're called Evolve cups now, but they were called like keto cups. But essentially it's just higher quality where it's like made with real foods like coconut butter and dark chocolate and more macro friendly. I would just have those as part of my like weekly routine. And then I didn't need the Reese's, right? And I thought this was so much better anyway. Like I don't crave Reese's at all anymore. And if I did want some like dark chocolate, I would definitely get the Evolve because it just tastes so much better. So do that for everything that you're craving. It could just not just be desserts, right? If it's the chips, change them out. Like find all these things that you love, instead of like restricting them, start creating alternatives from them. It's going to change your taste buds. All right, so that's the next thing, creating alternatives, which goes nicely into the next thing. Do a 2-week reset. So your body, like your actual taste buds, crave whatever you consistently give it. So if you have wine every night and your body's going to crave wine o'clock time, right? So our taste buds regenerate every about 10 to 14 days. I tend to notice no difference in like 3 to 5 days. So give yourself, you can do 3 to 5 days, or if you want like a complete reset, do 10 to 14 days. I have my clients have an optional thing called the flush that they do, which they love the results they get from that, especially in this department. But it's going to reset your taste buds for what you're desiring, what you're craving. Having that shift feels so nice. Are the first couple of days, do you have those desires? Yes, and you have to say like, all right, we're not doing that. I can do this for a couple of days, and then it goes away because your body craves what you constantly give it. Okay, the next is increase your knowledge, increase your conviction. I will tell you that I never really understood sugar back in the day. And so I'm like, well, what's the problem with sugar? I can have it and I don't die. So like, okay, I've heard it's not good for you, but like, so what? But then when you actually learn, like, wait a minute, how is this sugar fueling me or not fueling me? You can make like in the moment decisions. So for example, it is very easy for me to be like a math problem. All right, if I am going to have a plan for the day, and then I know like, okay, I do not want to increase body fat. If I get to the end of my day and I know, and somebody comes over there and like, oh, we brought, all these cupcakes, for post dinner or whatever. And I know I've already eaten my like quota for the day, meaning I only had a 2,000 calorie budget. If I already spent that 2,000 calories, I know if I eat 3 cookies, I know I'll gain body fat. So it's very clear to me because I understand the math. And this is why I teach so much in Create Your Shape, because your conviction goes up so much when you actually understand how it works. So it's not like deciding like, will these cookies, like, do I want to feel healthy or not? It's like, do I want to gain body fat in this moment right now? Yes or no? And I can decide that, right? But also I can decide like, oh, actually, okay, I can then take a cookie for tomorrow and then I can fit that into my daily budget tomorrow. Okay, cool. Right? It's so much, you're so empowered when you can do that. Same thing with like inflammatory oils. So when you really get to know like your body and you've see, and you're so much more in tune with your body. Like I have my ladies do daily weigh-ins and I teach them how to read the scale, how to observe their body so they know what's body fat, what's water inflammation, or what is water in water retention versus inflammation in their body, what is bloat in their lower belly, right? When they know that, then they build up that experience to know how these foods react in their system. So then they can say, all right, if I have this food, I know I'm going to be inflamed from it. My clothes are going to be tighter. I'm going to feel puffier tomorrow, right? Like they can think through that and then they can decide, it's not, do I want this, processed food because they all have inflammatory oils in it. then 99% of them, right? That's just how they naturally like make them, unless they're super high quality. So they can decide, it moves the decision from like, oh, do I want this to taste good in the moment or not? It moves it from that to like, wait, do I want to be inflamed from this? And not only that, like they think about it like kind of clogging their system from a health perspective too. And they think of, do I want to like add crud into my body that then builds up over time so that I'm more sluggish and not as sharp, and then could potentially cause like cholesterol issues. Like that's the way they take their mind, and then that shifts their desire like immediately. All right, this goes nicely into the last point, and that is determining your standards. So this is an example of this in a totally different area of my life personally, but I know you have them in your life too. So I get ready for my day. No matter if I'm staying home all day, if I'm working from home, if I'm going out and about, like it doesn't matter. I wake up and I get ready for my day. I always brush my hair. I always fix my face. And like, if you guys have been following me, I don't wear like a ton of makeup, but I like put myself together. I always get dressed for my day. And that is a standard that I have for myself. I want to not only feel put together, but how I represent myself in the world is being put together. That is just a value that I have. It's a standard that I have. You have similar ones. Maybe you are somebody who is never late. Maybe that's like your standard. You're like, yeah, I am not late. I am respectful of my time. I know how to manage my time. I'm respectful of other people's times. I wish I was there. Not there yet, but that is a great standard I would love to have. But there could be other things in your life. Maybe you're somebody who is always polite. Maybe you say like, I don't lose my temper. I am always polite in every scenario. That's like a standard I have in this world. These are all just examples. I know you have some of your own. Have standards when it comes to what you put into your body and your level of health, right? Maybe that is, I do not drink on weekdays. It's just not my standard, right? I do not do that. Or maybe it's some version or some flavor of that. I know some people, it's like, I only drink on special occasions. I have a good friend here who is like, I only drink at weddings. That is the only time I drink. Like that's his standard. And it's not just like with alcohol. Other people may have different standards. Like I have another friend, it's like, I do not eat fried food. That is not a standard that I have. And I will not, the way she puts it is like, I will not lower myself to that, like that level of food. It's just like, it doesn't fit how I live my life and how I think about the quality of my body. So what are your standards? I think this is really makes you question kind of your own like guidelines to follow, because they're going to look different for everyone else in different areas and kind of where you're at and what you value. But the main thing I would say is typically people have standards that match everyone else around them. And I would question that. I would create your own standards and then be willing to align with them when people question them. And you don't have to have an explanation. You just have to feel solid in it for you. So creating your standards. Now, I saved that one for last because I think that's hard to say if you don't have all the other tools that I just gave you. So this isn't just, do one or two, but they all definitely work together. But I would say the first place to start, and then one that's going to have the biggest impact, is being well fueled, and that means eating enough for you. That is the first step I implement with my Create Your Shape ladies, because I collect a lot of information from them. I determine how much fuel they need per day and how we can strategically work their intake up so they can feel better, they can change their desires, and they can feel like, oh yeah, this is easy. Yeah, I can do this and I feel better and I'm in control of my food and I know how to fit things in, and they're in a much better position to then build muscle, decrease body fat, and really mold their shape. All right, you guys, that's it on how to change your desires. I'll see you next week on the Create Your Shape podcast.